what's up you guys? My name is JJ and here's a quick history lesson on guitar sounds. Now, back in the 1960s there was no such thing as a master volume guitar amp. A master volume guitar amp is an amp that allows you to turn up the preamp to get it to distort, and then there's a master volume control that lets you control the overall volume. All they had was really big tube amplifiers, and of course they had to turn up to be heard over a drummer, and that feels great for a guitar player to play loud, but also it gets you a very nice saturated distorted tone. Now of course on lower volumes you couldn't get that tone, so they decided to think of a solution and design a fuzz box. Now fuzz boxes were originally designed to give you the sound of a distorted amplifier, but I don't know if you've ever heard of a fuzz box, but they sound completely different, right? To my ears they sound like the 1960s, like Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton when he was in the Cream. Those are all fuzz type guitar sounds. Then in the 1970s a company called Ibanez designed the Tube Screamer, a very famous green overdrive box. Those are available in two models, the TS-808 that Stevie Ray Vaughan used to use, and John Mayer and also Joe Bonamassa, and the TS-9, which is a little more affordable, but which is also a great overdrive pedal. And in my opinion the Tube Screamer was the first guitar pedal that actually sounded close to an overdriven guitar amp. Now also there's another use for overdrive pedals, which is to boost an already overdriven tube amp into more overdrive to get you more gain. Now there's a common misconception saying that overdrive and distortion they're the same thing, but they're not. In the 1980s came distortion pedals. Boss came out with the DS1, a very famous orange distortion box, and there's also a pedal called the Proco Rat, which is also in my drawing here. And the Proco Rat is one of my favorite distortion boxes. Distortion sounds much heavier, it's very hard clipping and not as smooth as overdrive. Now, if you're a guitar player who likes to play at home like me, and having a big amplifier really is no use, because when you turn up a big tube amplifier you get into all sorts of trouble with your neighbors, and of course your wife and your baby might not appreciate the volume, so that's a bad idea. But sticking an overdrive pedal in front of a good clean amplifier, or an amp that's on the verge of breakup, gets you a happy wife, a happy baby, and makes you a much happier guitar player. The pedal that I'm demoing today is the Digitech Bad Monkey, a very cool, affordable little overdrive pedal. And as you can see straight away, it comes in a lovely green finish, which of course is a reference to the Ibanez Tube Screamer that I mentioned. Ever since the release of the Tube Screamer, a lot of pedal manufacturers came out with their own twist on the Tube Screamer design, and this is one of them. Very popular little pedal. I know that Phil X, who I think is an amazing guitar player, he demos guitars for Fretted Americana, and you can also look him up on YouTube. He's awesome. He also used the Bad Monkey for a very long time. He's a famous Bad Monkey user. The problem with many Tube Screamer style pedals is that as soon as you kick them in, of course you get the mid-range hump and you get more gain to your sound, but the low end, the bass end, immediately drops out. And the cool thing about the Bad Monkey is that it has this very nice EQ section. As you can see, it has controls for treble and for bass, and with this little bass knob here, I love this little bass knob, you can compensate for the loss of low end that's typical for overdrive pedals. Also, I think that the EQ on the Bad Monkey works great. It has a little more gain than a normal Tube Screamer, which is great if you want to use it as a standalone, and it also works great as a booster. Now there's a couple of typical uses for an overdrive pedal. You could of course use a clean amplifier and then have the pedal provide all the dirt, as you can hear in my first example in the introduction. And you can also set your amp on the verge of breakup, so give it just a little bit of overdrive and then have the pedal boosted into more overdrive to give it more gain. And also another typical use is what Stevie Ray Vaughan used to do a lot, is you set up your amp with a certain EQ. In this example you can see that the bass is turned up quite high. The amplifier's mids are cut just a little bit, they're set before 12 o'clock, and then it's a very trebly amp setting, gets you a very bright tone. And then when you set up your overdrive pedal and you cut the high ends, of course that's going to give you a rounder sound, which is great if you're soloing up high on the neck with high notes and a trebly sound. You kick in the pedal and it instantly makes it a lot warmer. So that's also a typical use for an overdrive pedal. And here's the verdict. I think as a guitar player you really can't go wrong with a Digitech Bad Monkey. Certainly regarding its price point at 30 euros used, get one if you can. Because, well, of course it's not the greatest overdrive pedal in the world. There's supposed to be much better overdrive pedals like the Klon Centaur or the Timmy or whatever, you name it. But at this price point you really can't go wrong. It's very solidly built, it has easy battery access, it has great sound, and of course it has the bass control, which is awesome to have. And really, think about it. When you look at Phil X and you see that he uses a Bad Monkey, he sounds great, but he sounds great with whatever gear that he plays. So tone, at the end of the day, it's in the hands, you know, it's all in the hands.